Hey there, guys. So we're about a day and a half after the Vasyl Lomachenko versus Jose Pedraza title unification that happened this weekend. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch the fight live. You know how it is, guys. Stuff just gets in the way. I really wanted to watch it, but it is what it is. I caught the fight today. Just got done watching it. Really good fight. I enjoyed this fight, man. And you guys might remember that going into this fight, when I did my breakdown for it, I mentioned that I felt that Jose Pedraza was a little bit underrated. Now, he's one of these guys who, in my opinion, is a bit better than his record suggests. Now, he does have a knockout defeat to Gervonta Davis. I saw that fight, and I think that fight kind of coloured people's opinion on Pedraza as a fighter. And I think because of that fight and the way it went, and how bad he looked, and how vulnerable he looked in that fight, it kind of had a lot of people writing him off, but I always thought that Pedraza was a little bit underrated, and I think that fight had a lot to do with, for one, I believe he was having problems making weight. I mean, Pedraza is a big guy, and trying to make super featherweight, really wasn't suiting him. I certainly think he's much more well suited to lightweight, and I think that showed. And yeah, I mean, if you look at how that fight went, I don't think it was a great performance. I think Pedraza just was unprepared. Again, he looked a little bit drained to me, a little bit too thin, and yeah, technically he wasn't prepared for that fight either. And I think Davis just blew him out. He overpowered him. But if you look at the other guys and other performances on Pedraza's record, I mean, he stopped Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer's seen as a world class fighter right now, and I know that was earlier in their careers when they were both just prospects, but still, he was able to stop Tevin Farmer. He also beat Andrei Klimov, who at the time I believe only had one defeat. He was a solid contender at the time. So, Pedraza to me had an underrated resume. I mean, in his last fight prior to this, he managed to defeat the veteran Raymond Beltran for the title in front of a hostile crowd of Mexicans who were supporting Beltran. So, to me, Pedraza was very underrated, and he had a size advantage over Lomachenko. He was the taller guy with the longer arms, so I always felt that this fight was going to be interesting. Although I was picking Lomachenko to win, I wasn't 100% sure whether or not Lomachenko would get the stoppage. That's something I was kind of debating with myself back and forward on, but yeah, the fight ended up going the distance. Lomachenko almost had Pedraza out of there in the 11th. He scored two knockdowns. That 11th round, I don't know how Pedraza made it through. I mean, the amount of power shots and uppercuts he took in that round, it was crazy. And yeah, he was absolutely dominated for the most part in that round. And um, yeah, very good performance by Lomachenko. He had some problems. I mean, when you're coming off shoulder surgery and when you're facing a guy who is a little bit wrong for you stylistically, obviously you're gonna have problems. He did get marked up in the fight, but for the most part, Loma was in control, man. I had him winning pretty much every round. Clearly, I thought he was the only guy really landing any meaningful shots. I mean, Pedraza was, being a bit herky-jerky and trying to box on the outside. He was moving, but while he was on the back foot, he was throwing lots of straight shots, lots of jabs, a few looping shots here and there. He was switching stance and he was throwing like lead right hooks and stuff like that. And to me, Pedraza did what, he did what he could. He did what he could. He did his best in there, but he just wasn't good enough at the end of the day. Loma was just a better athlete, the better boxer. Loma was taking his time in there. He might have even given a couple of the early rounds away, although I scored them to him. I can totally see why some of the judges gave some early rounds to Pedraza because, he was just touching Lomachenko up and he was touching him to the body and he was being awkward and he was throwing a lot more punches. Although there wasn't a whole lot of quality on the punches, Loma was showing much more quality when he would land. I just felt that Pedraza, was active, and I think the judges saw that. But as the fight went on, to me, Lomachenko, just as he always does, he was taking his time. He was like sort of probing. He was finding the distance. Loma knows his way around a ring. He knows when you're throwing shots, he'll even let you get in a shot here and there, and he'll just kind of measure you up, kind of like Triple G used to do in his prime. And he'll just stick that right hand out and he'll sort of slap your guard down and he'll feint and he'll hop around and he'll just look for opportunities and he'll slowly but surely wear you down. And that's what he did in this fight. He did in this fight what he does to every single opponent. He slowly but surely worn him down and took over the fight. And midway through the fight, you knew that it was only a matter of time before Pedraza started to fall apart. And it was only a matter of time, because in that 11th round, you saw the effects of the smart pressure that Lomachenko was putting on him, because Pedraza was absolutely knackered in that round. And yeah, even the little sneaky body shots in the bodywork from Lomachenko, which a lot of the commentators I don't really think picked up on. Loma's bodywork was actually really impressive, although it was few and far between when he would throw to the body. It was very surprising how effective he was, and actually I think that the second knockdown was a result of a body shot. So Lomachenko, to me, this was a good performance. I was very impressed. I thought he looked really good tonight, and although he wasn't throwing the real snappy right hook that he usually throws, based on the fact that his shoulder was injured, I still think that he's going to be really difficult to beat for anybody in that division. And the talks about who he's going to face next. I mean, he's a unified champion now, and Mikey Garcia, is the fight we all want to see. But Mikey Garcia, he's got the Errol Spence Jr. fight coming up at welterweight. So who knows what will happen, and who knows if he'll even move down in weight after that. So we don't know if that fight will happen, and I'm not in a rush to see it, if I'm being honest. It's a good fight. I think it's a really, really good fight I'd like to see, but I'm not in a rush. There's plenty of fights out there for both of them. I mean, you look at the guys who are in the rankings, guys who are around in that lightweight division. I wouldn't mind seeing Lomachenko face Anthony Crawler. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. Crawler's a former champion, big name, big ticket seller here in the UK. I mean, in Manchester, I believe he's one of the biggest ticket sellers. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. If Loma wants to come to the UK and get some exposure over here, he could fight Anthony Crawler in Manchester. That'd be a great fight. I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Ricky Burns. I mean, Ricky Burns, again, three-division world champion, a guy with a ton of experience, a guy with stamina, a guy who's never been stopped. He's very tough, Ricky Burns, got a good chin, got tons of heart. I mean, the guy fought 9 rounds with a broken jaw against Raymond Beltran and managed to grind out a draw. Controversially, I know, but still, I mean, he showed a lot of durability in that fight. So I wouldn't mind seeing Lomachenko fight somebody like that and see if he can get a stoppage against a guy that's experienced, who's never been stopped before. So there's fights for Lomachenko. I mean, I wouldn't even mind seeing him fight Raymond Beltran. A Pedraza rematch, which I don't really see the point. I just don't think that Pedraza can do any better next time. I think Loma has him timed now. I'm trying to think who else could Lomachenko fight at lightweight. I really don't know. There are guys out there. Like I said, the UK guys. I guess just from my perspective, I'd like to see him face the UK guys like Crawler and Burns. And yeah, like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Beltran. Anybody really. Maybe even Robert Easter. I mean, why not? That'd be an interesting challenge based on the size difference. I mean, Robert Easter would have a huge size advantage over Loma, and maybe then we could see how Lomachenko performs in comparison to how Mikey Garcia performed. We could see how he does against Robert Easter. Maybe he can stop Robert Easter. Maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, there's fights out there. Lomachenko, I think, is a great fighter, pound for pound #1 in my opinion. Will he reign supreme at lightweight for long? I really don't know. It really depends on whether or not the shoulder heals up, because he didn't look as dominant tonight as he has in the past, and I think the shoulder had a lot to do with it. So either way, congratulations to Lomachenko, congratulations to Pedraza for making it the distance and actually coming to fight. It was a really, really entertaining match. Let me know what you guys think. God bless, and thanks for watching.